So, in this video, I'm going to show you how your favorite entrepreneurs, info product sellers, and personal brands are using this exact content architecture in order for them to actually collect hundreds of thousands of dollars per month in their personal brands using this exact mechanism. And for those of you wondering, my name is June and I've helped countless of your favorite personal brands go from invisible to an industry-leading brand in a matter of months with this exact mechanism that I'm actually going to teach you. And I've been mainly working in the shadows in the past 3 years, but right now, just in the last 50 days, I've launched my own info offer and I've managed to collect $20,000 cash for myself. And these are all actually like direct bank transfers and PayPal revenue because I'm not planning on scaling this offer, mainly working on a handful of clients that I genuinely want to get and maximize their LTV on and make sure that you have a exact consulting business that runs on relationships with good people, right? And I actually have a trip with two of my clients in the next couple of days, and one of my clients is going to be flying out from Miami to my hometown just to give everything away for free in person and in the exact implementation for him. So let's actually discuss what's in this diagram and making sure that everything in this is completely understandable for you so you can just replicate everything in the process, or if you don't, you can just come to me, right? So here's the thing. This is a broken loop and people repeatedly does the same thing when they starting a brand, right? They create content, they get some views, they add a CD at the end and they wonder why no one buys. The mistake isn't content quality. It's that there's no architecture between the content and the calendar, right? There is also no content architecture between actually building a brand because most people actually think excessively on how to create content, but they don't understand how to actually build a brand. When the people who understands how to build a brand, sometimes it doesn't get rooted with their identity. And then if it doesn't get rooted in their identity, because they don't actually understand their inner world. So first, they collect bricks, they collect and build bricks that ultimately stacks one by one, but because they're only showing one side of the building, it eventually falls apart because conversion is engineered, not earned. Most coaches build content, but you need to first build the system that turns content into cash, right? So I want you to look at this graph, and this is a foundational perspective on how content architecture works because you need to first understand where your foundation currently lies in your personal brand and your exact info product offer. So where does this stand on? What are the pillars? Identity, positioning, offer, sales, and even the exact framing to completely turn your content architecture into a room people get into, and depending on how you design that space is moves people to the actual conversion mechanism, which leads them to demand. It starts from curiosity to belief to identity to trust, and then you move to conversion, which is why my clients and me are collecting cash in a predictable manner with content architecture, mainly organic, but sometimes catapulted with paid ads, right? Content architecture is a way to find their inner world, right? I want you to understand that content architecture is not a normal funnel. It's rooted in the identity of the founder in the info product and the main mechanism to how to sell it to the people who actually believes and actually gets help from this info product. It's to create a visual, spiritual, and abstract structure of who you are as a person, mainly reflecting it to your Instagram, to your YouTube, and to your LinkedIn or whatever, right? Because what you have to understand is people are selfish. You are not actually building a brand to impact or inspire people. Don't lie to yourself. Because if you lie to yourself, you would lie on your personal brand. And people can sniff it from a mile away. You're doing it for the money and leverage it gives you. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there's nothing wrong with that. It only becomes wrong when you lie to yourself about it. Content architectures allows you to be selfish, that you can just build an inner world clear and specific enough that it attracts people to move towards it, right? Your inner world, because people want movement, right? If we look back on history, when Manhattan was building buildings and becoming the New York as we know it today and becoming the greatest city in the world, people flock onto it because movement inspires jobs, inspires creation and natural possibility. So, in a sense, people actually want movement. The reason why I close my clients where I just run my own offer at a very prominent age, where it's only been like 50 days since running this, but I'm only on 20K per month, is that my profile signifies movement, right? They see that someone started from the very beginning where I just was uploading Zoom calls with me and my past clients, right? And then I moved on to opening up myself to the world where I meet some of the entrepreneurs that I can grab myself around. And then I move into hiring, firing, and then just opening up myself to the world, talking to my network, going into restaurants and having dinners with some of the people that I truly love and care about, and then presenting my own offer, my own mechanism, thinking process, right? And then providing credibility, right? Providing credibility is one of the most important things because, as you can see here, I have hundreds of client insights that I can present to my clients, right? I just close my clients and onboarded recently, right? And then I mainly just speaking of pure value that people could appreciate. And when you show that, people want movement. People gravitate towards a movement, right? So now, how do you build this in a world and show it to the market that actually needs your specific service or what you're currently offering? So lots of people have a misunderstanding of how to position themselves because positioning is a very difficult thing, right? Very difficult thing to explain because it's very vague, but it's very important because the price of your offer and the success of your info product or your personal brand or even just making content for yourself is dependent on how you position yourself. So to give you a perspective on how to explain positioning, so many personal brands try to be engineers, right? They want to be, for example, a sales coach tries to be a sales engineer. An AI coach tries to be an AI engineer. A content coach tries to be a content engineer. They're explaining the best tips. They're jumping on trends and they're using proven methods, right? But this only position you as a service provider. And service providers are replaceable. You have to be an architect. An architect, when you look at it, when a building is being built, there's only one architect. And these are, of course, medium sized buildings. Of course, the bigger buildings with to a different permits that needs to be done, there's multiple architects. But in an actual case, there's only one architect when you build a building. You're not there to push the mathematical equations that will make the building safe, right? Or to explain how we can cut the budget by using discounted building materials. The architect was there to pioneer, to provide sustainability and bring creativity, life and possibility, and design and give meaning to the space that can be useful to other people, right? The beauty of content architecture is it allows you to be a pioneer, to make sure that whatever mechanism and content architecture that you can offer to the world is given meaning and possibility and life to the actual info product that you're selling to people. Because you're not just selling people an info product, you're changing their lives. And it's different from impacting people, right? Because we all know that value equates to cash, right? It's the natural order of things. So, first, let's understand content architecture on a nuclear level, right? So, content architecture, when people scroll, whether intentional or unintentional, their mind travels along among various intellectual properties. They become intellectual travelers. Every reel, post, and video they watch becomes a building they enter, right? Most people focus on creating individual bricks that doesn't stand or amount to a stable building. From that point, they decide if the building suits their taste, interest, or values. You have to understand that every post of you is an idea. An idea turned into output is an intellectual property. And this intellectual property, when rooted in a collective manner, becomes an intellectual city, right? So you have to understand how to create just an input of an intellectual city. They enter your ecosystem, which is your intellectual city, and start to get deeper on how they know you, like you, and trust you. And based on how you created your brand or your intellectual city. As you can see here, I started my offer like at around 30 followers. I have 69 followers, 67 following me, and I've already closed a 10K deal, right? And I've posted minimal content, right? Because trust is ingrained or engineered at a very deeper level, and people could see that. And if you can manage to translate it in just in your own offer, if you have like at least 3,000 followers, the effect is massive. Even the most beautiful city collapses, right? Here's the thing: even the most beautiful city collapses without an economy. So we have to optimize for the highest conversion when attracting the right eyeballs. From that point, based on how we engineered our city, we sell people products that ease their pain, shift their beliefs, and move them closer to their desired outcome. So we'll focus deeper on building our intellectual city. Now, I need to explain you what a horizontal branding and what is the difference between vertical branding. Horizontal branding mainly focus on creating multiple reels, individual formats with multiple messages. When you're building a brand, this is the worst thing that you could do, because you're going to be the guy that people come and get tips from, but they won't buy from, because you presented yourself as as an open book that people can usually enter and get knowledge from and go away and fuck off. If you actually want to understand true branding, you have to understand and know what vertical branding really is. It's group formats with one overarching message, right? Because branding at a deeper level is just saying the same things 100 different times so that people can associate you with that specific thing. For example, when I'm building my brand right now, people in a long run would associate me with the exact content architecture mechanism, because it's been the same thing that I teach to my clients. It's the same thing, the body of knowledge that I leverage to make money for myself and for my clients, and to give the value that I offer to the world and give it meaning, life, and possibility, right? So I'm not really just creating individual reels. I have group formats that tell one thing only, right? And I have different formats that tell the same thing in a different way, right? If you can tell something 1,000 different times, you know what branding is. And when you're still not fatigued on saying that exact thing, that means it isn't remembered enough, right? When I constantly talk about content architecture straight for a year, people would associate me with that. And I can tell it in 1,000 different ways. And you've seen me do that here, right? I've said it as a concept, as a contrarian belief. I also said it as a graphic format that people could understand. I also say it in a meaningful way that people can get value and possibility from and get meaning and poetry from. I also said it like in a positioning manner where I can tell people if they're an architect or an engineer, depending on their positioning. Because positioning, again, dictates the price. One insight, one client of mine has a big problem in his positioning, and he's positioned as an agency in a world where he can be the dominant force in his industry, because the industry is very niche and not a lot of people are talking in this specific niche, and it's a completely blue ocean. But the way he structured this offer is like competing with 1,000 different agencies, which is bad, meaning he couldn't charge higher prices and he also couldn't differentiate himself. Like you see in my profile, I have a very gravitating profile, and this is not to glaze myself, but for you to understand how can someone have the balls and have the credibility and authority to say this exact line in their bio is an insanely different things, and for it to be effective is an a whole new different dimension, because you go to me for one thing only, and that's differentiation, and that's how I close my first handful of clients, right? And then I went and gave them a CDA and then a credibility line to a YouTube video that people can watch and get myself a credibility, which is just me literally saying this to one of my clients and going over situations and offer where people can get value from, literally on 38 minutes, 39, 40 minutes. People would not like dispute the credibility that I have, because you can spot here if I'm talking about bullshit, right? And then let's go back and let's start on building this intellectual city. Because when I was challenging, or when I was pioneering this exact thinking process, I was thinking of myself, okay, how do you actually structure everything? How to create conversion mechanisms and conversion assets to post on your Instagram and on YouTube to create that scalability and possibility for you to be an industry leader. And I kept going back to the identity layer that people try to erase from themselves, right? Because you have to understand that everything starts at an identity based level, right? Let's first focus on what makes a city. The ones who gives and takes, the people, right? People have identities. How do we connect our past identity, which is where we came from and where we are now, to help other people go from where they are now to where they want to go, right? And use yourself as an example. For example, people could see transparently my brand so that they can just replicate it for themselves. I started from 30 followers and have closed 20K worth of deals, right? 20K worth of deals for my own self. At 30 followers, that's unheard of, right? Because I know how to engineer attention, and I know that virality doesn't equal to conversion. It's sometimes hurts your brand. And I could use this exact mechanism in order for me to like close my clients. And I can turn this seemingly downside, which is, oh, you have only 30 followers. But I can say that, yeah, I have 30 followers, but I closed 20K worth of deals, right? And I can show the proof, right? You see here. The fan bases, you can see the today's earnings and total lifetime earnings and five fan bases like 10K, because fan bases doesn't just work on me. I don't know why, because I have money there, but I couldn't find a way to withdraw it. If you can, if you have connections, just let me know and DM me. But this is mainly about you. How do you connect the bridge of your past self to your future self? For example, I have one client who's doing AI thing. He's doing AI offer. How do we make sure that his story from being a 9 to 5er to being a founder and operator is reflected into his brand, that people could go track back their entire journey and connect with him with their pain point, their behavior, their dream outcomes, their limiting beliefs, and their failed attempts, so that they can imagine themselves getting from this exact 9 to 5er mentality to a founder operator level where they have leverage, autonomy, and freedom, and throw away their survival mode and their convenience mentality, right? How do we do that? And this is where we utilize all the data we gathered to use it as a pre-handling triage on the method of conversion that doesn't feel salesy. Because yeah, another thing to understand is that I have sales calls, but it's kinda not, right? Because the couple of clients that I first closed, I didn't have a sales call. I mainly have an onboarding call because they came on the call pre-sold, right? And I might throw into clips here, but you can see it in my stories. It's like they already know how and why they can be benefited.
Oh, so I had a whole
Okay, this is
after our the moment I saw you online, like everything just checked out.
usually the moment I saw you online, everything just checked out, right? Imagine someone doing that on you or saying that on a sales call. That you could already like literally smell blood from the water, right? And you can you'll know that it's gonna be a close deal. But it's mainly just me sending them another layer to ripen them before the sales call, and then engineering the trust and mechanism for them to really be converted and get their decisions dialed before they even come to the sales call, right? Now, this is what I call identity shifting content. We don't sell the offer or the product. We just tell people of what identity we want them to have and install behavior for them to take what aligns with their identity for them to collapse time and achieve their goals. Because you have to understand that every single layer of a human perception is rooted in their identity. Because identity roots behavior, and a behavior drives decision. And decision at a right moment in time, when you're on a sales call, becomes conversion, right? So conversion starts from identity. How to know what to do in your specific situation to create efficiency efficiency while maximizing for volume and quality, optimize for highest conversion. First, we need to understand this graph because this graph is money for you, right? Because chances are you might have an agency right now or you have a brand. I want you to understand that your proof of skills and your brand is highly directly or highly inversely proportional to each other. Meaning, if you have high proof of skills, meaning you have fulfilled for your clients, you have lots of credibility, lots of proof, lots of not client testimonials, client feedbacks, and client results. That's at the expense of fulfilling for these clients, meaning you have not taken the time to build your brand. But sometimes some people have a great brand, but at the expense of not showing their proof of skills and not actually delivering good results for their clients. So everything starts when you understand that these two are inversely proportional to each other. Meaning, if you want to have a great brand, you need to lower your proof of skills, right? You need to lower your proof of skills to down to a point where you could be, you could scale your brand and you could provide scalability to your brand. Because you have to understand that the best lever or best leverage that you can have for yourself is building a brand, building content assets, using this entire content architecture, right? In order for you to convert people just like I do and my clients do, right? And it starts from an identity level, but it moves you closer from your founder identity. Because this is another thing that I see people make a mistake from. Not because you have a multi-dimensional identity doesn't mean you have to show all of it. You could just show one side, and that's your founder identity. When you show just one side, people have an easier tracking of how to follow you and how to connect with you because they just know one side of you, right? They know a side where they are not an alien of, right? If you're an info coach and you just suddenly just show yourself roller skating or skating on the ice, right? There's not that much of a big of a difference, but for people, okay, that's another lever mechanism that he uses to connect with me, but sometimes it's still foreign to me. It's still alien to me. Going back to this, when you have lots of proof of skills, you also have high fulfillment load. Meaning, the more you want to make an outstanding proof of skill and to correct yourself and prove yourself to the market, you have high fulfillment load because you're treated as a service provider. You're still seen as someone that needs attention to detail and you're treated as an agency, right? You're still on this agency ride where you know when you started an agency, it's a long ride. It's a difficult world. So in order for you to create that scalability, you need to make sure that your brand gets higher and higher up the ladder, and then your proof of skills gets lower and lower so that you can also lower your fulfillment load, right? And when you lower your fulfillment load and you lower your proof of skills, you drive scalability because your brand moves up the ladder. Now, what is the right content path in order for you to actually understand what is the things to post and how you make sure that the branding trademarks and the filters for your unique mechanism to actually come up with your identity is actually intact to the brand that you're building to maximize conversion, not at the expense of reach, because people try to go viral, people try to impress people, people try to have this awe mentality that they need to be the fantastic Mr. Fox in order for people to buy from them. But that's not the truth. And I've seen that time and time again, and I've proved it with my own offer, where I managed to collect 20K in deals with 100 followers, right? So I did this with one of my clients, Nick, and as you can see, he started from just talking head videos on a random beach in Dubai. And then he moved on to having his trademark, which is Myro Reels, right? And then we moved on to delivering podcasts with him. And then we started implementing this viral Reels, which gets hundreds, millions, hundreds of thousands of views, right? But for most people, what they do first is this. They try to reverse the process in which they want to prove everyone wrong by maximizing their reach. But if you truly are someone worth following, you need to understand that you're telling a story in your brand. Like I said in the very beginning, I'm telling a story in my brand. I just show myself. People don't like talking to one of my clients here, and then on my room with Zoom calls. And you have to understand the thinking process here is when people, when B2B people start to understand that, okay, he's just showing himself on a Zoom call, but this is a Zoom call, so this must be sauce, right? You remember when Iman started like having these viral editing videos, and then he's launched a business page, business YouTube channel, where he's just literally sitting and there's a Google Doc in there. Because he's targeting now a different kind of audience. In the viral reels or in the viral YouTube videos that he was posting, he was targeting 18 to 22-year-olds, maybe even like 17 to 23-year-olds that are attracted to this type of editing. But you know that sophisticated buyers, mainly B2B founders, they much more would rather watch someone in a Miro YouTube video or Google Doc video just like this one speak sauce. So when people see that I'm just in a Zoom call, that's sauce, right? I'm someone credible and I'm just yapping in this Zoom calls, right? I don't want to say yapping word. That's such a terrible word. Now, and then I went on to creating these type of reels where I'm just walking on the streets, right? So here I'm telling a story of me just being credible and just telling thoughts. And then here you have to understand that you have to think of this at a deeper level. This is not just someone talking on a reel on a street. There is a meaning behind what actually is the reason of why he can do that. Because not a lot of people can talk straight to the screen with full credibility and not get ashamed of what they were talking about in a crowded environment, right? So people can see the confidence in me. People see the credibility that I offer, because if I can talk about this nonstop, people would rather believe in me because I'm just here talking about my shit while walking, right? Then another thing is I just hired right? Meaning I'm going more in depth into how I'm helping actually my clients, mainly here on the hiring process of a closer. And then I went on to
How would you know when?
with my network and just spoke with some events and then just provided value to people. So people saw me as someone, a credible individual, just hopping on Zoom calls with his clients, to now opening himself up to the world. And then I went to the podcast as well. You have to understand that for a certain person to go into a podcast, they must have a certain credibility and a certain story to tell in order for them to be listened to, right? And then I started to actually move into explaining people what my mechanism is, right? Which is content architecture. So let's watch actually. When people go online, they travel through various minds and ideas. They become intellectual travelers. So what if we stop treating every piece of content as a standalone asset and build an intellectual city instead? Where every short form and long form video isn't a post, it's a building people walk into and enter. And the way we design that space, depending on our taste and shaped by our point of view, quietly moves people higher and higher up the flows of conversion, from stranger to prospect to client. My name is June, and after helping clients scale their offers past multiple high six figures, I shut it all down to go on an impossible mission: help people build a million intellectual cities with content architecture. And today, we start with our first project. I just want to let it know that this brand of yours is the shittiest brand. So you can see I've added lots of conversion layers into this. And this is how I actually close my recent client, because they see this reel. This reel got like 629 views. 629 views with 3 comments. And this is the exact reel that my recent client had as a first touch point of knowing me, and then they went onto my profile. They see that people go to me for one thing only, and that's differentiation, and that resonated with him. And then he can see that I have clients as well. I think I have this.
And let me tell you something. Something that was like interesting to me is that you don't have that many followers, but you already have clients. So that sparked my attention, because it's not about the following, it's about the content, it's about the conversion.
You can literally hear him do exactly what I'm saying to you, right? And in this caption, in the caption of my story, like, I have record-breaking conversion cycles. You have to understand that the couple clients that I last closed has been in my entire content architecture for a maximum of 78 hours from the first touch point of knowing me, right? 78, like 24, 48, 72 hours, like 72 hours of the first touch point of knowing me, right? So my first client, they saw my content, they been on my content for like 3 hours, and then they booked a call, and then after that, we waited for like 48 hours, and then we hopped on a call, and then client paid, right? And then this one is even faster. I don't know if I can show you my DMs, right? So you can see and you can tell that. Wait, let me see. You can see that I literally from 9:15 a.m. June 16, 9:15 a.m. to June 16. Okay, June 16, 10:17 p.m. We hopped on a call. 10:17 p.m. we hopped on a call. It's literally 9:15 a.m. from June 16, and then 10 p.m. we hopped on a call, and then he paid, right? 10K deal, easy, right? Easy, 10K deal, right? You can see here, 10K deal, 7K deal. This is like both 7K deal. This is like 3K deal, 3K deal. And if you're seeing like, oh, why is it like they different payment processors, of course, because I don't have a payment processor just yet. But why is it like different amount of deals? Because I constantly raise my prices. Because I don't want to scale. I don't want to scale just yet. I can't scale just yet. I don't want to. Because I want to maximize the LTV of my already existing clients. And you can see the caliber of clients that have worked before, right? You can see the caliber of clients that have worked before. And that has been my lifeblood in this exact business, right? 48 hours, like 9:15 a.m. 9:15 a.m. to 10 p.m. and then cash collected at 11 p.m. That's what, like less than or at least 30 to 14 hours, right? And if you add the him going into my content architecture, that's maximum 24 hours for one client, a 10K deal, right? And then we go into actually what needs to be posted, right? So I went on a tangent there, but actually what makes you literally understand that you don't have to sacrifice your conversion for the sake of reach, because at 600 views I can close 10K deals. How can you not, right? How can you not? And the only reason why you can't is because you're doing everything upside down. You're starting from going viral, and then hopping into this mindless things. I'm not talking about him, right? I'm talking about some people, right? You hop onto like useless formats just because they're trending, and you're copying big people. But when you copy big people, you're gonna be under their authority, right? If you want to be an industry leader, you have to always be in the authority, right? So here, what he did specifically with this one specific client that I've worked with before, he did talking head videos with some of his clients, some videos with his clients, and then he created his own format, and then he went on a specific podcast, and I've understood how he specifically created this podcast and how he structured it very well to the point that even though he just hopped on one podcast, it's very, very valuable. And then that's when he blew up, actually, right? So you can see me doing the exact same thing in a parallel world where I'm just talking about my credibility on my stories. And you know that stories are like, I have 30 followers. So 30 followers in my stories, like maximum 30 story views. But I do it intentionally. I talk about, I share my day in the life, right? What it looks like to be with me, what my credibility is. I've made close to $2 million for my clients, all by aligning the identity of their brand and turning it into a cash flow content machine, right? And then I do content assets in YouTube, right? And then who knows what's next? I'm doing this exact specific reels that I'm doing, and also just the client stories that I tell. And I'm opening up myself to the world just like this, where I talk with my clients, who's very great individual, right? And then let's move to the next, which is stage by stage cadence. So how do you actually post with an internal identity level of thinking of this nuclear, right? First, I structured my profile very well, right? I don't have a start here story just yet because I want to maximize my pictures that I have with my clients. And then first, what you do with your bio is like who you help with, what mechanism, who you help with what mechanism, a statement of credibility and specific aim, and a call to action, right? So you can see with me, it's you go to me for one thing. I didn't follow the format because I have an insane amount of credibility that I can say this. You just go to me for one thing. Go to me for differentiation. If you want to work with me, you DM base. And that's how people DM me. And then I helped one client add $1.7 million in 5 months with an offer, right? With one offer. Now, phase one, like I said to you and I explained to you, and I made it intentionally and intentional. I was just speaking on Zoom calls. I'm piquing the curiosity of the people, of my clients, of my prospects. And then I live my life while doing this. I'm confident, credible, and knowledgeable, right? I'm talking on the streets, talking with my clients, just sitting, hiring people, and then sharing my stories. And then I'm showcasing my achievements. I went on a podcast and it's instant authority getting interviewed with someone because you leverage other people's authority and you create maximum credibility because again when you sit on a podcast with someone there must be something special with you. And then I'm moving into this high trust high sophistication where I share micro reels or I actually micro reels with one of my clients. One of my clients actually implemented it as well with this. And it's high trust, high sophistication because Miro is just very sophisticated. You can see this and you know that I'm going to be ballistic. I'm going to go nuclear in this video, right? It's a detailed breakdown. It's a detailed expertise with indirect social proof of a client. So where did I do this? I did this here.
How would you know when a
So someone credible enough with a good info offer
content
is
format
asking me.
fatigue?
So you know, when people see this, they would have a herd behavior where, okay, someone is asking him, he must have something special and something really good to say because someone decided to ask them a question. It's a very, very scientific explanation of it. But if you think of it on a deeper level, that's actually why it is.
You need to switch it up.
That changes himself. That's why the content follows up. It's not the other way around, right? And then I went on to doing branding trademarks, which is my intellectual property. Well filmed, highly scripted, and choreographed. And it's more of not virality driven, but not just virality driven, but actually creating and making sure that your intellectual property is highly documented. Right? It's properly documented because it's my branding trademark, and you can see me implementing it actually. Because you need to understand how to create a unique mechanism for you so that people can only associate you with something that truly amazes them. For example, the content architecture that I said to you, right? It's my intellectual property, right? That's how I want to build my intellectual city, right? So you need to understand this another graph as well, where in order for you to create conversion, you need to create connection. And you do this by having an ecosystem or having an architecture of a cycle between value and values. So what is value? You indirectly express your values while dropping value. Value is like the tips and tricks and insights that you can give to people, right? But values is who you actually are. What your characteristics, what you really value in life, what you really um, um what you really want to explain in the world. So, for example, my values are being kind, right? Inspiring people, and say, let's do being intentional, right? Being intentional on on whatever that I do, right? So, for example, here, like I've posted very few reels, but each and every one of them, I'm very intentional. Even the colors that I use is very intentional. Like you can see a lot of gold and black and blue, and I don't go, and I don't always like go beyond that, right? I mainly use like gold color. You can see here like gold, 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 gold. My profile is gold. There's a little bit of gold. It's gold. This is gold. Another hue of gold, right? I'm sorry. And then, yeah. So how to create a brand narrative? You have to say the same thing in 100 different ways. Same statement, different sentences. So identity precedes behavior. Behavior precedes decision, and decision precedes conversion. Just like what I said to you, right? These are the main lines that I'm talking about here, in this phase. And then one founder asked me one question, and it generated me $500,000. These are the exact same things. I say these exact same things every single time, but I'm just speaking on it on a different framing and a different wording, right? I had a meeting with 30 to 50K per month business owners, and then there's no difference between a 50K per month offer to a 500K per month offer, because I have the credibility and authority to speak about these topics, because I work with 500K per month offers and 50K per month offers, and I know what the actual difference is, and there's practically none, right? There's practically none, right? And then from here, you literally drive connection to your prospects, and you can get into conversion, right? And you have to understand, when when you're going a brand, there's a lot of people like they would only see this part. They would only see this part. But as you grow your brand, and much more people um, go and recognize your brand, the latest people will see all of it. But the people who came from the very beginning will see this, and it slowly builds up to this, slowly builds up to this. But the latest person will is literally gonna flood to him, right? It's literally gonna flood to him. Next one, we go to efficiency in distribution, right? So you more now catapult YouTube and make sure that the distribution is set right. So for example, my YouTube is like June Albrecht, and I have a 4 sentence hero section where I tell a story of where I came from, what I achieved, and what you do to help other people now, right? Your YouTube is like long form assets, and there's deepest connection and its highest conversion. Like you can see here in my bio in my YouTube, after helping one of my clients hit multiple 6 figures, I decided to quit to go on an impossible mission. This is where I document my journey to helping founders build 1 million intellectual cities with content architecture. And that you can see I'm also intentional with my branding, right? It's very well packaged as well, but it doesn't like shy away from that brand that I'm trying to build, right? And it's mainly like 10 videos of straight value. And sometimes of it is not pure value, it's mainly for connection. For example, this one is like truly an intentional tactic where I just said do it for you. And it's a podcast, it's a mini conversation with one of my clients. And then I have conversion mechanisms with one of my clients. And then one of my best performing videos is like the science of building a personal brand people feel stupid not buying from. So it's literally just a monologue with me. Right? Okay.
New Head and
Free
Shoulders
ad.
Best
Fulfillment. And we've just this. Okay, so the past. What this is thinking of me is like people actually like my ideas, right? People actually.
Couple
like-
days has been very, very, I would say unusual, and it will help in the next couple.
And this
You
you
can
can
just
just to this YouTube video, but you can tell that people like my ideas because it's literally the best performing content in my YouTube. It's the best performing because this one is like kind of boosted because it was in my bio for like a month or so in Instagram. So it's kind of boosted. This one really performed well. It got 110 views because what this tells me is that people like my idea. People like how this point of view of my perspective on how I think of content and branding and positioning and personal branding and scaling info products is different from other people because they value meaning, longevity, and possibility to what I offer. Because I am positioned to be an industry leader, right? Because content architecture allows me to. And that's what I want to do with you as well. Like, you should be positioned as an industry leader with your content architecture. That's what it allows me to be. Now, when you go to podcasts, you talk about your major achievements, pain, dream outcomes, roadblocks, failed attempts, and breaking points. You relate to your ICP, shift their beliefs, and shift their identity, and pre-handle their objections, right? I went to a podcast with one of my network, and I told how I helped a client go from 600K in a 30-day client time span revenue by reframing identity of their content. And then I went on to a mini YTU value VSL video. I talk about topics, breakdowns, mechanisms, and implementations, and borrowed social proofs, right? I give data, results-backed insights based on expertise and experiences, positioning you as a sophisticated and knowledgeable, right? This exact video positions me as an insane credibility because I'm very sophisticated on how I present myself, right? And then I went on to doing case studies and testimonial videos with one of my clients, right? These are testimonial videos with my clients, right? This is an indirect testimonial videos because I'm literally with my client. And when people see you with your client, of course, you're credible. You're on the authority, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 videos of 10. Let me just charge my screen. 5 out of 10 videos is me and my clients talking and giving and literally giving good words to me, right? For example, here is literally just, see visually what you have to offer, right? You can see how they satisfied and
I love it, brother.
and we're hugging, we're dapping,
And I'm telling you right now,
right? So
want change to happen.
this is very good because
I don't think there's a need to.
it's a matter of like when you see people coming together all as one, you would want to be in that circle as well, especially if you like the person, right?
100% confident that
What would you say to people in position of in defense of working with me?
do it.
Right? It's very good. It's like very high converting because other people tell other people that you are credible and you are actually the person that you say you are, right? And then we go to in-person client breakdowns with one of my clients, right? This is also an in-person client breakdown, right? Now, the pin mechanism carousel that I've used in the very beginning, I would change this because content architecture is not really like implemented in here because again, where everything starts is on the identity level. So I literally told everyone that everything starts with identity-based systems, right? But here, you just literally make sure that you are having a sneak peek of the offer and transformation they're gonna get based on a visual implementation, right? Everything here is visual, right? And then you have social proof and visual cues, social proof, visual cues, and you have lifestyle elements, and you have urgency. Lifestyle elements. I'm presenting to a lot of people in a stage. I'm with my clients. I'm working, and I'm exposed to wealth, right? Lifestyle carousel. You tell a day in the life story with just pictures, right? You give people an idea of how you actually are in real life. So I walk in a building, I go to a restaurant, good view, walking, shooting videos, going to another restaurant, going to a winery, wine store, and then going to a networking mastermind and all that, and then giving value and speaking to them, right? There's a certain type of context of how they can spend time with you, and there's FOMO as well, right? People want to gravitate to you and maybe take some pictures just like this with you and be with you as well. So it's a really good place in order for you to like give a credibility for yourself, and it's already here, right? It's all here, right? With a little bit of music, right? And you can see just by the comments like the mind behind. I'm not the mind behind, bro. I'm help people and people help themselves, right? And then here, I go into a case study story with one of my biggest clients, biggest case studies, like how I help a coach unlock 300K months, right? And then I went on to literally picturing every single thing that we did with that specific clients and how we made that specific amount, consistent 100K weeks based on the content architecture that we implemented. We hit 600K in February, right? And then when your identity is clear, you don't chase clients. You filter them. So you can see that I'm literally repeating the same exact words from time to time. Identity, content architecture, inner world, right? Intellectual cities, intellectual properties. And I give it all to people for free. And they can see what I did exactly. And it's not salesy because they can do this themselves. But if they actually want a hands-on one-on-one support, they can go through me and help them step by step. Then I have a credibility story where I I just tell people how valuable I am and how what I did matters most to them. And it's like I've made close to $2 million for my clients collectively. And then I tell people what they're doing wrong sometimes. And then I tell them what I did. I understood the deepest marketing and content angles, crafted unique messaging for 20 plus niches. I know what to say to get people to pay you, and hired an A-player content team for your favorite coaches. So I built a content team and deployed it to different personal brands. Now, value stories is just you making sure that there's a certain type of your unique mechanism and certain type of you as a company do that other people don't. And so here itself, I've been gatekeeping this, just started implementing a new acquisition process for one of my clients. So you can tell that this has not been implemented before by any other people because it's rooted into my unique mechanism, which is their clients do the heavy lifting, the pipeline feed itself, right? It's a new acquisition process that leverages your own clients. And that's the most beautiful part because, again, most people make the same mistake of getting clients and they start from zero every single time. How I got my past 2 clients is because of the previous clients that I had. I tell my stories better, very well, that people get converted just by just looking at the people who I work with, which is mainly these people, right? And how can you deny that if you can see that they are actually winning, right? So we all know how to actually pose and understand what really gives you that leverage and unique mechanism in order for you to attract and attack your industry. But how do we make sure that we have an industry-leading branding? And I will have a separate video for this, right? I will have a separate video for how to create an industry-leading branding for yourself. This is mainly for people who have the best results and they want to communicate that to their market. And this one is something I pioneered. I'm very proud of. I pioneered this together with my client Nick, and this contributed to a 600K month revenue for us, right? When we were working together, because as you can see, it just clicks. And I promise I will explain this in depth, but just to give you a perspective of how I intend to do it. Like, this is what we did, and the market literally copied every single thing, but they didn't do it nicely and properly and conversionally better, right? It's not as good, not just visually, but context wise. And I will show you what they did as mistakes, and not to roast them, but actually to give them value so that they can just improve it, right? So you can see here, like this is the same company. They started off as like straight up copying, but they desperately try to improve themselves, but still it's not hitting as possible because it's really not tactile. It's literally not grounded, right? Some people, they copied it in like the same exact color, but not that good, not that good design, not that good fonts. I can barely read this, right? And then some people, they try to innovate a little bit and make it grounded, but it's still not. It doesn't have the charisma. But all this feeds into this, right? Because this all is a testament of how industry leading this is. This became an industry leading not because it's just super effective on our conversion mechanism, but because it got copied. It got copied, right? So where are we? Let's go here. And your industry leading branding, you should just try to make sure that you are seen in a level where you are actually at. If you are a credible company that people can look up to and go to, present that. Do it in your Instagram, do it in your carousel, do it in your website, do it in your YouTube, and present yourself and hold up to the standards of the authority that you're holding into, right? And so if you found clarity on this, just let me know in the comments. Maybe you have suggestions of where I can improve based on these current conversations between the two of us. And if you want me to help you implement all of this one by one, step by step, hands-on, I mainly take minimal clients, and you could just DM me based to my Instagram, and you can DM me a certain keyword and say to me IG. When you say to me that specific word, I know that you came to this specific YouTube video, and IG, right? IG. Yeah, that's it. Very, very great breakdown. I enjoyed it a lot. This is one heck of a Miro board, right? This is one heck of a Miro board. And I truly love discussing this. And I truly love the promise of content architecture and how it will be received by the market and how it's kind of going great, right? 20K in a single month, not that bad for a newly found offer with minimal clients. And that's where I want to be at. Like, just, minimal clients, not scaling aggressively, just enjoying the process. And I'm literally going to travel with 2 of my clients on the weekends to spend time with them, make more content for them, and make sure that they're on the right track. Launch ads and give them the best fulfillment ever so that they can have the best possibility on scaling. And yeah, love it.